Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today our topic is going to be about the auxiliary verbs. If you remember, our topic was the verbs, and we divided our verbs into main three parts. And the first part was the action verbs, so the main verbs. We had three different parts of that lecture, but today we are going to the type number 2, that is the auxiliary verbs. What are auxiliary verbs? So today we are going to look into that. So you see, if I'm supposed to define the auxiliary verbs, these are the verbs we often call them we often call them the helping verbs, right? They are helping verbs, and when they come up with the main verbs that we talked in the lectures before this, they express the tenses, or they express the mood of the sentence, or they express the voices. And when I say the voices, it means active and passive. So I'll write down a few things for you to make it quite clear, because everything spoken might not be easy to understand. So here are what I mean to say is that auxiliary verbs are sometimes called the helping verbs, right? And when they combine with the main verbs. Main verbs means the action verbs. We talked about this before. Main verbs, when coming with the main verbs, they show, or they express what? They express the tenses of the sentence, or they express the mood of the sentence, or they express the voices, right? When I say voices, active, passive. So this is how the auxiliary verbs work, and they are one of the important things you need to know, because when you know these auxiliary verbs, it will help you correct your grammar, write your sentences properly, and in fact, it will help you in speaking. So let me just show you some of the examples. For example, for tenses, we know we are going to do this. It's very simple. Everybody knows this, and we are going to take this as a separate topic. But for these voices and the mood, I'll tell you. For example, for the mood, the example is like, for example, did you say that? So this is an interrogative mood. This is what we mean by the mood, right? Or the voices, we'll talk about that as well. Talking about this in detail, I'll tell you, broadly you got to remember, there are three main auxiliary verbs. Remember this thing. There are three main auxiliary verbs you need to remember. And what are those? They are do, be, and have. These are main three auxiliary verbs you need to remember. And I tell you one thing, this do is used in it's used in simple sentences, right? In simple tenses, right? And this one is used in continuous tenses. And this one is used in perfect tenses. Remember this thing. So do the main three auxiliary verbs here we are talking about. The first one is do. It's used in simple tenses, or we call indefinite tenses. The other one we use in the be, we use in continuous tenses. We also call them progressive tenses. And the other one, that's how we use it in perfect tenses, or we call them perfective tenses. So I can quote some examples. See, I do not speak the truth, for example. So here we see that do, and coming with the main verb, as I said, it shows the tenses. So this tense that we are talking about here is present simple, or present indefinite. We'll talk about the tenses separately, but here I'm just trying to explain my definition here. So then you see the other one, we can just, the other example is that, like, for example, she did not listen. She did not listen to me, right? You see, this is the past form of do, right? Because for do we have the forms like it's did and done, right? So it's the past simple, because with the verb it shows the tenses, right? So in the continuous form we can give the examples like, for example, you see she'll be eating food. She'll be eating food. Or the forms of be, are, is, am, are, or was, were, right? Like that. So we can put the examples of continuous of this be like I am eating food, right? Or she was dancing, right? The perfect tenses, you know that it has forms like have, had, has. So I write a sentence like this: she has done it. So you see, this with the verb, main verb, shows the tenses. So this is present perfect down there, right? So, but you remember one more thing, as I said about these main auxiliary verbs, do, be, and have. They are the main auxiliary verbs, and do often comes with the simple tenses or the indefinite tenses, and be with the continuous tenses. That's pretty right what I said. But sometimes these auxiliary verbs can come as the main verbs. These auxiliary verbs can come as a main verb that we talked before. For example, I would say he did his job. There did came as a main verb because it shows a sort of action. When we talk about the auxiliary verbs, there's no action mentioned there. There's no action present there. It was only in the main verbs. If you remember my last lecture, there I wrote in bold that main verbs are the action verbs. So here in auxiliary verbs, there's no action mentioned. But sometimes they come as an action verbs, the main verbs. Like, for example, I do my work regularly. So there, do is basically an action verb, not the auxiliary verbs. So you see, there's one more interesting thing that I need to talk about. Very interesting thing. In positive sentences, remember, this is very important point because this will help you in speaking. In our positive sentences, when these auxiliary verbs come, they are usually the function words, not the content words. What we mean by the function words is that they are unstressed. And when any word or any syllable is unstressed, it's contracted. So when these auxiliary verbs come in the positive sentences, they are unstressed, they are function words, they are not stressed, and they are contracted with the subject. For example, instead of saying, there were the negative sentences, so I was not talking about negative first, so I'll drop this one. Wait, you see, the important thing you need to know is that, for example, this is a positive sentence, I am doing my job. See, for example. See, this is a positive sentence, and here we have auxiliary verb, right? See, this is the form of do. This is another auxiliary verb, but this has come here as a main verb or the action verb. Remember, so we're not talking about this, we're talking about this. This is a positive sentence, and the auxiliary verb present is here. So as I said, when there are positive sentences, auxiliary verbs are considered there as the function words. They are not stressed. So not stressing means they are contracted. In positive, they are contracted with the subject. So how we do it? Instead of writing this, it's better to write this. I'm. So that's what we call not stressing. That what we call unstressed or contracting. Contracting means somewhat pronouncing it that way that it's difficult to hear, right? It's difficult to hear. So it would be better to say like am, not I am. I'm doing my work or my job, right? Like that. It helps you sound more natural and more like natives too, if you do that way. So remember one thing, next time when you speak, it's better when you have positive sentences, you have auxiliary verbs there, it's better. Auxiliary verbs, treat them as function words, not content words, and contract them with the subject, right? I'm, or I've. See, like this, I have done it. Instead of saying this, I've done it. That looks pretty interesting, doesn't it? So you see, I've done it. Or us, instead of saying I was, right? Us. So, but the case is if there is the negative sentence. So this was case the positive sentences when they are positive sentences, and then you have auxiliary verbs. So treat them as function words and contract them with the subject. What happens when the sentence is in negative form? When it's in negative form, they are sometimes stressed and sometimes not. For example, sometimes in negative sentences, we are talking about the negative sentences, these auxiliary verbs are sometimes contracted with the not. For example, like this. She isn't. Not she is not. She isn't going there. Or we haven't. Not we have not. We haven't done it yet. Right? So this time I'm contracting the auxiliary verb with the not. So the other way is you can contract in negative sentences as well. You can contract the auxiliary verbs with the subject. For example, you would say she's not going there. Or you would say we've not done it yet, like that. This is how we do it. I hope this is pretty simple to understand. So you got to do this, like for example, when you contract these auxiliary verbs. Oh shit! Excuse me. This is my mother over there. I can't stop her. So since I'm going to stop the video because she's going to stay here for a little longer. Excuse me. Assalamu alaikum.